The Houthi terrorist group backed by Iran in Yemen has announced a total ban on maritime navigation by Saudi Arabia under the Blockade for Blockade principle. The order was announced this Monday, July 20, 2026, by military spokesperson Yahya Sari and took effect immediately. The group stated that Saudi vessels and traffic linked to the kingdom will now face a naval blockade. In this video, Yahya Sari appears in military uniform in front of the movement's flag and symbol as he turns the threat into a formal order.
At the massive demonstration attended by millions on the Friday of alert and mobilization, and in the large gatherings and tribal meetings that preceded it, the Yemeni armed forces state the following. First, the Yemeni armed forces announce a ban on the criminal Saudi enemy's maritime navigation under the siege for siege formula. And this will take effect from the moment this statement is announced. Second, we reaffirm the right of our great people to respond to siege with siege, total escalation with total escalation, and to consolidate this equation. Third, the armed forces of Yemen confirm their full readiness for all options, and that any recklessness committed by the foolish Saudi enemy through a total escalation.
The speech does not say when it will end, nor does it detail which ships will be targeted first. Even so, the statement puts Saudi vessels, ships destined for the kingdom's ports, and companies transporting products from the country within a brutal risk zone. The question now is not just whether there will be attacks, but which vessel might be chosen to prove that the blockade is not just propaganda. Reuters highlighted that even the uncertainty caused by the announcement could disrupt routes and keep ships away from Saudi ports. The threat targets the Bab el-Mandeb, a narrow passage that connects the Red Sea to the Gulf of Aden and the Indian Ocean. About 12% of global trade usually passes through this region, as well as approximately a quarter of all cargo transported worldwide in containers. A complete closure could interrupt the shipment of Saudi oil to Asia and remove up to 7% of the supply. Ships that avoid the area will need to go around Africa via the Cape of Good Hope, lengthening the trip, fuel consumption, insurance costs, and the final price of goods. Saudi Arabia has become even more dependent on this Red Sea route because the Strait of Hormuz is also plagued by attacks and Iranian threats. The kingdom had been transferring millions of barrels daily through the East-West pipeline, moving oil from the Gulf region and taking the cargo to Saudi terminals on the coast. The group also threatened airlines, oil facilities, airports, and Saudi ports. Abd Abdul Malik al-Houthi set a new rule: airport by airport, port by port, and blockade by blockade. The informal truce that had prevented a larger conflict since 2022 was practically torn apart. The attack on Sana'a was presented by the group as the end of the period of reduced hostilities. At a protest held on Friday, July 17th, Houthi supporters displayed a banner declaring that all Saudi oil facilities could be targeted by missiles and drones. A few days later, Yahya Sarey announced the naval blockade. In this video, flashes in the sky are presented as missile launches by the Islamic Revolutionary Guard against Kuwait, Jordan, and Syria. In the last few hours, defenses Jordan stated that it had shot down several projectiles, while Kuwait once again reported attacks on energy and desalination facilities. Reuters also confirmed that Iran had launched an attack in the Al-Tanf region in eastern Syria, although the American target was not hit, according to a Syrian military source. The offensive took place as the United States carried out its 9th consecutive night of attacks against Iranian military sites. The targets included command centers, air defense systems, coastal surveillance positions, communication networks, and sites used for launching drones and missiles. The American response was intensified after an Iranian attack on a base in Jordan killed 2 United States service members and left another missing. Tehran chose to retaliate by targeting Arab nations that host American forces, spreading danger throughout the Gulf region. The war also directly hit a commercial ship involved in fuel transportation. The tanker Kavu Kavalmales is seen engulfed by a huge column of smoke. The vessel was hit on the night of July 19th near the coast of Oman. The ship is registered under the Maltese flag, was built in 2025, and is operated by the Greek company Dynacon Tankers. The crew abandoned the vessel and was safely rescued by a tugboat, while the tanker remained adrift and on fire. On the voyage when it was hit, it was sailing empty towards a Gulf port to receive a new cargo. The British Maritime Warning reported that the ship was hit by an unknown projectile without immediately confirming who was responsible. The Revolutionary Guard stated on the same day that 2 oil tankers had exploded and were left immobilized after trying to cross a route considered unsafe by Iran. The Joint Maritime Information Center had already recorded 11 Iranian attacks on vessels in the Strait of Hormuz since June 25. The threat level remained classified as severe, with further hostile actions considered highly likely. The movement of supertankers dropped from an average of 8 crossings per day at the end of June and beginning of July to just 2 per day in the past week. Ship-to-ship oil transfers outside the strait also dropped sharply after the new wave of attacks. While Iran and its allies spread threats across the sea, the Iranian political leadership is facing a frightening crisis within its own regime. Mojtaba Khamenei has not appeared in public since he took over as supreme leader. His statements have been made through written communiques without delivering speeches to the public. Abbas Araghchi revealed in an interview that he still had not met Mojtaba in person since Mojtaba took office. A report attributed to an Israeli security source claimed that the leader was not even inside Iranian territory, information that has not received independent confirmation. In this report published by Nexta, Mojtaba's absence is presented as a result of extreme isolation. Only a small group would have access to the leader, supreme leader, while more visible authorities such as Araghchi, Masoud Pezeshkian, and Mohammad Bagher Ghalibaf make public decisions. Iraqi sources also reported that Mojtaba refused a meeting with the Prime Minister of Iraq, Ali al-Zaid, out of fear that the meeting would reveal the location of his hideout. The refusal happened after al-Zaid visited Donald Trump at the White House and brought a message to the Iranian leadership. The paranoia increased after Araghchi admitted the existence of a serious security breach inside Iran. In this video published by the Confrontation Report, the minister states that the enemy knew Ali Khamenei's routine, knew where military commanders' meetings took place, and chose the exact time to attack. Araghchi acknowledged that this breach has not yet been completely eliminated and may continue to influence access to information and even the regime's decision-making process.
For example, apart from what's happening at the Beyte, there is a Defense Council meeting that Mr. Shamkhani organized, and Mr. Khamenei himself is also in the Beyte. How do you interpret that? At the same time, 3 or 4 meetings at 9:30 in the morning?
Well, the Strategic Council itself had, let's say, a fixed and mandatory meeting that took place every Saturday to discuss the most important matters of the week. At the time when I was on the Strategic Council, we also had a meeting every Saturday morning, but it was in their building on Pastaran Street. I don't know why that day they had put it in the building downstairs. Besides, that wasn't the target, but Mr. Shamkhani's meeting was the target, Mr. Shirazi's office was the target, Mr. Rijazi's office was the target. And His Excellency's own office was not the target. They attacked those quickly.
They also attacked the Deputy Minister's meeting.
Those were in other buildings, I know.
I don't consider having several meetings at the same time to be natural.
At that time, sir, there were meetings going on in every building. But yes, the supreme leader was in his office. That doesn't count. Now, at the Defense Council meeting that Mr. Shamkhani organized, I don't know if it was a coincidence or not, but the Ministry of Intelligence was also meeting at the same time. The important thing, in my opinion, is that they were aware of these meetings, and this might be a security breach that existed, and it probably still exists. This needs to be resolved, and now the security forces are investigating. And I believe that this security breach is not limited only to infiltration and obtaining information. Sometimes this also directly influences the way we make our decisions. And even worse, it influences our psychological climate.
In the next few hours, ship owners, insurers, and terminal operators will need to decide whether to keep ships in Bab el-Mandeb or divert vessels to longer routes. The Houthi threat came just as the Strait of Hormuz is facing ships set ablaze, reduced traffic, and attacks from the Revolutionary Guard. The immediate result is fierce pressure on Saudi oil, international trade, and maritime security across the Gulf and the Red Sea. Thank you very much for watching this video until the end. Support our project and contribute financially using the PIX details shown on your screen. We are an independent channel focused on keeping you accurately informed. Your contribution helps us stay on our feet.